So right now our ranger's at NG+4, so we're just going to continue there. First things first, I'll kind of go over all the upgrades I have and kind of the mindset of playing for solo and like how I plan on doing my damage, sustaining, etc, etc. So the idea behind this build can be scaled down to lower NGs. You don't have to be as strict on what you're doing. So I'm in the higher NGs, or not higher, but I've gotten to the point where I get all my abilities. If you're still leveling, I would say just skip Power Shot and Grasping Roots completely. You don't really need those. But definitely focus on Bow Shot, Flurry of Arrows, and On the Prowl. So until you get your town up to this point, you'll want to get these three, and these three, which shouldn't take you too long. You can start getting these when you have extra skill points, and then these are pretty good damage increase, but I would almost say get this first, especially if you're playing in a group. On the Prowl is definitely needed, 25% evasion at the highest rank. So on the Prowl, Flurry of Arrows, Bow Shot, that's all you really need to make this build work. Twinned Arrows and Marked Prey will increase your clear and your group playability. So I would say those next, and then finish out Grasping Roots and Power Shot later. But as you'll see in the video, we probably won't play Power Shot really at all. There is some situations where it's good, but a lot of the times we want to be moving around, snaring, and just doing our AoE and single target abilities. So that's how I would scale it down. You can get away with this build probably sub-level 20, somewhere around level 15. It's not very strict items at all at that point. We do have the wizard unlocked, and we have all the skill points from him. None of it's really needed while doing NG 0, 1, or 2. But once you find them and start getting more and more gold, there's no reason not to buy all the upgrades. The same goes for the blacksmith. You can get away without most blacksmith recipes up to NG2. Prioritize armor for sure, especially in solo play, and then primary attack damage. Apothecary, I would say it shouldn't take you long to get all the gold upgrades from him, so I would try to max him out first. Alright, chapel build. Some of this isn't, you don't have to have all three of these to have a successful run. You really don't need any of these to have a successful run. Before I was Path of the Warrior, Blessing of Might, and Symbol of Essence, I believe. But you can also do Symbol of Force. This is like the glass cannon version. This would be like a balanced, get the lifesteal version. But I'm doing the solo tank build version, so decreasing damage taken, increasing my mana regen, and we're doing Thorns damage. So we'll kind of build around that. And we play a lot of our builds like this, so a lot of the focus will be around Ring of Tea, Amulet of Vengeance. So you see we have this attuned. This would be one of the first items you want to attune. I would say directly after Ring of Tea, this Ring of Transmutation. So we have those two items attuned, Robe of the Archmagi, because we always just like magic resist. We have Stinger attuned, so mostly all of our damage is going to be physical. So this will increase our damage a good bit. We're going to use a potion that gives us a lot of magic resist, or a lot of magic damage. So this magic resistance penetration will help out a lot in that case. Other than that, we have attuned, I think, the trickster items. Yeah, Slippery Cloak, and we're going to do Sandals of Swiftness soon. Just the evasion is really nice. We can get really high levels. So doing our right click, we're at 25, and then if we use evasion pieces, we get even more. So I've adjusted the NG. So our NG+4, we're starting out with minus 20 armor, minus 46 magic resist. This will be different depending on what kind of blacksmith upgrades you have, what wizard upgrades you have, what character NG levels you have. but you can get away with less, especially if you're doing lower NG. So we're going to start rolling items here, see what we can find. So we have Amulet of Vengeance off the bat. We really want Amulet of Vengeance in this slot or in a craftable slot. And Shieldbreaker would be a good one to have, and maybe one of the King's items. But we really need Ring of Tea, so we need Ring of Tea in one of these slots, and then we're going to try to look for one of those blues in this slot as we roll. So we have the Ring of Tea, the Stinger, but we don't have one of the blue items. I actually like Cape of the Flamewalker, so I may do something different here and actually go with Cape of the Flamewalker. Ideally, you'd want either King's Armor, King's Resistance, or either King's Sword for your left click or King's Scepter for your right click. Those would be maybe the best ones. I kind of want to try out this Cape of the Flamewalker though. It does scale off of like the magic penetration and any more skill power you get. And we're still getting some damage for our left click. So this may be like a riskier setup, but I kind of want to try it out. So we'll do that. You usually get around 12 keys. You can adjust more or less depending on your budget. Oftentimes I go through the whole run and I'll still have a lot of gold keys and a lot of bronze keys at the end. But you'll have runs where the RNG is different and you'll have a lot of one or the other where you'll run out, and then after that you'll probably start buying more and more, just so that doesn't happen again when the runs get more and more critical. So since we have our blue item already, we're going to go ahead and craft the last item we need. We need Amulet of Vengeance, which is our way we're going to trigger combo. The idea is we get hit, we get our mana back as we lose health, we get into combo, the mana gives us the ability to use our skills. With the skills, we're going to get some leech, and we'll be able to get our health back. So we're going to kind of continue that cycle. So let's go ahead and see, go ahead and show you all the drink setup. We're going to go Crimson Death for our life leech, Incendiary Demise for extra magic damage, and it applies a burning to ourselves, which will trigger combo from the Amulet of Vengeance. Then we're going to take Wicked Sickness, which is kind of what this whole build is revolving around, is staying in combo, getting that 200% extra damage as often as possible. Since we're going for like a tank setup, I'm actually going to go Last Stand here, so we can kind of stand still, take less damage, do more damage. So we'll take that. So it's 4. And then now we get to kind of decide what we want to do. I really don't like reducing my mana or my armor resist very much. So we'll probably be getting the Evasion or the Mellow Mist. So let's go with the Evasion. The Evasion is going to help us a lot. It does reduce our attack damage, so we go down to 95. But the Evasion is just, it's worth it in my opinion. So that's essentially the setup. We're going to do pretty much our standard fountain setup, which I'll go over in a second just so we know. Since I'm taking Crimson Death, I'll be taking 2.5% damage every time I walk. As you can see, if I walk around, I lose health. So you'll see during this run, I'll be losing a lot of health walking between one group of enemies and another group of enemies. So we're not going to take expanded floors. I don't like traps, so I disable the traps in the corridors. I want to take half damage from all the other traps, and then we also get rid of the towers, because they're just kind of a pain to deal with. You can adjust this as needed. This is kind of just a general outline. This is like a cookie cutter version, but you could make it, you know, it's kind of personal preference what you actually like, what you want to deal with, what you don't want to deal with. I also do Glass Walks and Treasure Hunt. Glass Walks lets you avoid even more traps, and it lets you get some chests that you can never get in other situations. Same basically goes with Treasure Hunt. You'll have more chest rooms than if you didn't have it, which is perfect. General rule of thumb, if I'm not taking exceptional consumables, so if you're doing this build on NG0, NG1, you don't have the Crimson Drink because it only drops in NG2. If you don't have some of the other drinks, that's okay. I would go consumables instead until you get to NG2, and then you can farm out your drinks. Another thing with that, if you're on like a low NG, you won't have the Amulet of Vengeance attuned. You may not even have the blueprints. Same goes with the Ring of Tea. So you'll be adjusting this. So I would say this would be your main source to sustain. So just keep that in mind. Don't copy this exactly, because if you don't have like one of the parts I have, then you'll have to adjust a little bit. And it's not too hard to adjust. You just kind of have to understand why you're picking certain things. So since we have Bleach, we don't need this exceptional consumables. And since we don't need exceptional consumables, we're going to take lousy consumables, because it's just extra favor for us. We're going to get more enemies. It helps with leveling, helps with getting more items. Same goes with mini bosses. So the mini bosses that will spawn have a chance to drop keys, have a chance to drop items, and the more items we can get, the better. So that's all we really want. This is still way too much gold, so we're just going to disable ore veins. I essentially do ore runs on different characters when I need ore. So when I'm actually pushing my NG, I turn off ore. Another thing you can also try is Agile, because it's a lot of favor. So if you don't have the money, you can put on Agile, or if you want to keep ore, you can put on Agile. That would be the only thing I would change here. The reason I'm not using Agile is I'm using Last Stand drink, so I'll move 33% slower, and it would be easy to get surrounded and get stuck in a bad situation if I didn't have that. So it's just kind of a safety measure. So that's kind of like a play at your own risk. If you're not using Last Stand, I would say this is probably even better than using ore veins, because you can kind of do like a half and half run where you're going to push and you're going to get ore. So let's lock that in. I'm going to deposit the rest of our money, and just to make sure, it's something I like to do every time, just to make sure I've done everything. Make sure you did the shop, make sure you adjusted your NG, make sure you got your drinks, make sure you did your anvil, make sure you did your fountain. Once you have that, you're ready to go.